Hey guys, this is Odd One Gaming. This is going to be another King Arthur Legends Rise video. In today's video, I want to talk about something that several of you have asked me to do, and that's going to be a gearing guide, right? When we're talking about the early, mid game, what type of gear should you put on what people, and stuff like that. Now, do keep in mind that, I want to emphasize on the early game part of it, because as you push toward the game and you get closer to, the mid end game, things are going to change up because you're going to have access to several other pieces of gear, to several other sets, and all of that. So just by starting off, I guess we would go to the forge and go to equipment crafting, because this is pretty much the spot where you would be doing most of the forging of stuff. So we're not going to look at 4 to 5 star, we're going to look only at 3 to 4 star, and we're going to see, what do we have, what can we forge, what can we get. And do keep in mind, again, it's 3 to 4 star, so everything is kind of like, doesn't require specific materials. For 3 to 4 star, you just see everything asks for the same type of resource, right? You can see over here, doesn't matter the set, it still uses the runestone, which you can get from farming dungeons. And then obviously these ones, the ingots, you get from, again, farming dungeons. And same thing over here, the what's it called, ingot of beauty, which is for these 3 ones, and then for this one is the ingot of protection. Now I want to emphasize again on the fact that when it comes to 3-4 star, you can only form specific things, and most of the time you're not going to have the ideal sets, okay? So you're just going to be forging whatever whatever you're going to have available. However, I would suggest, because it's just 3 to 4 star, to just focus on some specific sets. Now, what sets are we going to talk about? Well, from my point of view, from what I've played, from what I've seen, there's a few sets that are going to be kind of like priority, which, are going to be extremely important for early mid game. And number one priority, from my point of view, is going to be the Vigor set, right? The reason why this one's so powerful is because you recharge 1 extra Vigor. So pretty much every time one of your heroes gets a turn, they get 1 Vigor. And having this Vigor set means every time they get a turn, they get 2 Vigor. If they use their first skill, you get another Vigor. So you kind of get the gist of it. That's why I believe Vigor to be the most important one. Then the second one, from my point of view, again, this is, this might not, some people might say different, but from my point of view, the second one that can be really helpful to kind of pair with that Vigor set is going to be the life set, right? In the beginning, it's kind of hard to stay alive, to also do damage, combination of everything is going to be tough. So having a life set as well to kind of pair with that 4-piece set of Vigor is going to be ideal, especially for supports, tanks, and stuff like that. But after we go through the forge and what I believe is priority, I'm going to go through a few characters and, kind of show you like what I would suggest to put on each of them. Then the next ones that we're going to look at is going to be not the damage set, because this one gives you more crit damage. Well, as you progress through the game, it's kind of hard to get that high crit rate. So the next one that can be really helpful is going to be the critical set. This is going to be mostly on your damage dealers, right? And then the other two that you would kind of pair the critical set with, which is a 2-set piece, is going to be either the attack set or the speed set, right? Definitely keep these ones in mind, because it depends on how their damage scales. So for certain people that have damage, they scale off of speed. The speed set could be a good one to kind of use for damage as well. And then attack set, again, this one's just straight up for damage dealers. Now, after you're going to push through the game, accuracy set is going to become more important. Defense set, honestly, unless it's a damage dealer with defense, you're not really going to use. Drain set could be quirky in like some specific cases. If you have some drain set for your main damage dealer, like a K, that could be useful to have like maybe 1 set in the beginning. Resistance set I would completely ignore. Heal set, again, could be situational, used for healers, but honestly I would suggest just go Vigor instead of heal set. Again, counter set can be a really good complementary set to the life set as well. So yeah, just the quirky thing is, again, in the early game, you cannot easily just farm this set. This is mostly forged, so you're going to be getting life set and defense, criticals, just from doing campaign stages. Now, let's have a quick look at a few characters and how I would suggest to build. And I'm honestly just going to look at the ones that everybody gets for free. So I'm just going to show an example of Morgan, Tristan, Kay, and maybe a healer like Sarah. Just going to go through them and kind of show you what I would suggest to build on them. So I guess let's start with Morgan. Now, when it comes to Morgan, her main use is going to be because of her passives, right? She brings lots of debuffs, removes buffs. Then if we look at her relics, she can sleep on the first skill, she can push back attack gauge on the second skill, then on the third skill she can do attack damage taken and recovery disruption. So pretty much your goal is going to be to try and get her in sets or like pieces of gear that give you that effect accuracy, right? You're gonna see I have a ton of it, but basically the ideal way is gonna be looking at the individual pieces. And for example, on the the necklace, you're gonna see you can have a chance to get the effect accuracy. So somebody that does debuffs, like a Morgan in this case, you're gonna try and prioritize getting an effect accuracy set as the main stat. But if you cannot afford to do that, then obviously look for substats that have the effect accuracy. Let me see, can I find something that has it? There we go, effect accuracy substat. Hit accuracy substat can be helpful, but hit accuracy is not as priority because, well, that's more when you come to the end game where they start having higher dodge rate. That's where you're gonna need that. So as an example, currently I have my Morgan with speed and accuracy. This is gonna be kind of like the ideal build for her, or vigor and accuracy, or you know what, even if you don't have the other set to complement, as long as you have speed or vigor with enough effect accuracy, I believe up to 50% effect accuracy, it's gonna be pretty good up until you get to the mid game, maybe even 30%, right? Once you push the end game, 50 to 70% is what you're gonna need. So even if you don't have, for example, maybe complete sets, that also could be an idea, as long as you give her enough effect accuracy and some speed, so she's one of the first ones to go, that would be the good way to do it. Now let's move over to Tristan. When it comes to Tristan, from my point of view, the way that I use him at least is with speed and critical set, right? Speed benefits because he does some more damage, critical obviously to increase his crit rate. You can see a rough build that I have on him, 63% crit rate, some attack, some more attack speed, and then some effect accuracy. It might be tough to focus effect accuracy on him, but if you can get like 10-20%, do it. If not, just focus his attack speed, attack, and critical rate, because if you look at him, he has what is it on the third skill, every time he does damage, he also gets extra damage based per point of speed, right? So 0.6% for every attack speed that you have. So somebody like him, you're gonna focus full on damage build with you know, some good attack speed if you can. And the reason why I said if you can squeeze a little bit of effect accuracy is because he does attack speed decrease on the first skill and attack speed decrease on the third skill. So that's why having a little bit of that is going to be helpful. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, Kay is going to be pretty much just full on damage, right? Early on, just give her whatever damage you can. You can see I have her in speed and crit rate right now. This is just my leftover gear. However, you would ideally go with an attack one, or even, you know what, maybe even triple crit rate sets if you cannot get her other stats too high, because your priority for K is going to be attack, crit rate, crit damage, and then, you know, a little bit of speed, so she's not base 100 speed. So if you can get like 130, 140, that should be just fine. Just making sure that she crits, that's going to help. But even the crit, you're not going to need to boost to the max, right? The reason for that is she has on the second skill that last hit grants critical rate increase 2 for 2 turns, which means if you get that to like 60-70%, that should be fine, because if I'm not mistaken, this one gives you 20% extra crit rate. So pretty straightforward damage build for her. Now let's look at the healer, for example, Sarah. Like I said, for a healer, you would go something like Vigor plus Life on the early game. If you have Counter, then yeah, Counter is going to be a lot better. But you prefer Vigor again because you want the supports to boost as much Vigor as you can. So maybe even Morgan again, like I mentioned. If you can get Morgan in a Vigor set, they have to have some effect accuracy and attack speed. That's going to be ideal. But when it comes to healers, you're going to want Vigor and as much HP as possible, right? You're going to see, for example, my Sarah, 25,000 HP, 124 speed. Speed's a bit low. You might want to try and get a little bit faster, and then I guess for a designated healer you would not care about anything else, just speed, HP as much as possible, and that's going to be the way you're going to build your support. Now the reason why somebody like a Sarah that's a healer needs a lot of HP is because you're going to see over here it says heals all allies 11% of Sarah's max HP plus another 30. So this means every time your healers are going to do some healing for the whole team, or just, you know, single target, they will always scale off of their own max HP. So you always want to have as much max HP on your healer as possible, possible, unless it's a different situation like an Isolde, for example, that she does 3.8% of her max HP. You're still gonna want to give her, decent HP, but she also does this, right? She also puts recovery over time, which heals them based off the target, right? So this one is not as important, I guess, to boost a ton of your HP, because especially on somebody like an Isolde, because she also does some damage over time, so you might want to prioritize giving her some effect accuracy as well, right? So that's where you're going to see my Isolde, same principle. She's in a Vigor set, right? Vigor set, you're going to see decent HP, pretty low attack speed, but then she also has effect accuracy because she's more, she's more half a healer, half of damage over time hero. Now, I guess let me show you one more other example. Somebody like a Bodwin, which is extremely useful with for dealing with the abnormal statuses. If you don't have the good legendaries like Gillian, Ain, Guinevere, right? He's going to be your to-go character. Now, when it comes to him, unless you really care about the second skill, right, that has a chance to land attack decrease, then you're gonna go full on HP on him, right? As tanky as possible, he's your tank, but Vigor. Again, reason for Vigor is you want him to keep doing that third skill that puts defense up, that puts damage shared, and then HP to obviously be, tanky, because that's his role in there, to be tanky. Plus, this passive also says that at the beginning of the fight, he grants his shield to 1 or 2 random allies, depending if you have your skilled up. That is based on his max HP, right? So as much max HP as you can, and that should be pretty helpful. Now, I cannot see anybody else that I could look at, but I guess, let's look at somebody like an Anguish that is a damage dealer, but he's more about dot, and from my point of view, he's the best when it comes to doing damage over time, or if not, one of the best ones. I have him in a Vigor as well, right? Because his best hit, for the sake of doing something like a Gorgos and land his dots, is his third skill. So this one requires 3 Vigor. If you don't have enough Vigor generated by the team, it's going to be hard to do this. You're not really going to care about his raw damage too much, honestly. You're just going to care about him having enough effect accuracy to land his stuff, and then enough speed. You're gonna see I have, speed is pretty low. I would prefer to have like 150 for him, and then effect accuracy you can see 50%. But even for endgame, that 50% is going to be enough for him, because he has this passive, if you skill it up, that every time he attacks, he puts on himself effect accuracy increase 2 and also attack increase. So definitely worth keeping in mind. Vigor is really good. Now, when it comes to endgame, it's a different story. You're gonna go elemental for people that do dot, but again, we're just talking about the early game. So I guess the takeaways for this video are priorities for the early game are definitely Vigor, and that one's going to be even good for endgame, honestly. Vigor is really powerful and is really important. Second one, life set as a complementary one can be good. Critical one can be really good for damage dealers. Then attack and speed sets for when it comes to damage. And then obviously one that's going to be important even in the end game, that's going to be better than like complementing with life, is going to be counter set. But then this one depends how much you forge or how much you get, because it's not as easy to forge a ton in the early game, and when you want to forge, you're going to forge Vigor a ton, because the reason for that is you cannot farm Vigor set from anywhere. You can only just forge it, and then when we look at 4 to 5 star, you're gonna have to collect these ones, which you get from campaign. See, main story and only from heart. So definitely keep that in mind. But the other ones you're gonna see, this one you get from I think it's again from certain campaign stages. Yep, certain campaign stages. So by the time you get to farm the campaign, it's you're gonna start pushing towards the mid end game, and that's where things are gonna change, and you're gonna start forging more of this, and you're gonna want the higher quality. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for today. I hope this video is helpful, guys. And if you disagree with something, let me know in the comments down below. And, I can add it to the next video when I'm gonna get to the point of making, like, a late or mid-end game build. What's the sets to prioritize and all that. And obviously in that video, I'm also gonna cover the keepsake. I didn't really wanna talk about the keepsakes yet, because in the early mid game, it's hard to get into 6-star awakened. So, that's gonna be the next one. But yeah, we're gonna leave it at this for today. Thank you all for watching. As always, if you do enjoy my content, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel to see when I upload next. If you want to support me, there's a link in the description. Make sure you click that and support me. It's gonna help me a ton, cost you nothing, and I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace, love, take care, everyone. Bye, guys.
Fight with honor. Vanquish the wicked, and you may prove worthy of your legacy.